What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Arsenal Pass. So I'm Brendan Patrick, and here with a kind of a quick video. So we had a recent update, very exciting, right? So I think it was this past weekend, maybe a little bit the weekend before, but a certain kind of deck won both Polish, Austrian, and German nationals. It's not the deck you would think, right? So it's not Lightning Briar, but it's actually going to be a hybrid Briar. Very similar to Lightning Briar, but it's looking to abuse Channel Mount Heroic as well. So I played a little bit of Earth Briar myself early in the format, and also the Pro Quest. And I remember when you would play Channel Mount Heroic, there would be certain turns that would really pop off, right? The turns you'd abuse it the most, which is the turns you'd have the zero cost attack actions and have the go again, and you'll play like 4 on the combat chain, or maybe get the Force of Nature and just kind of keep going because they keep having inherent go again. So it looks like we finally had a deck emerge. It's looking to do both things. It's looking to be 0 for 4, right? Like Lightning Briar. Apply a lot of your tasks, not pitch for pretty much anything, and the pattern we're used to is at the breakpoints, generating embodiments Earth, blocking very effectively, and just being the aggro deck of the format. But we've added in another card here in the Channel Mount Heroic and the support package to go with it. So we've got our blues to play the Channel Mount Heroic, and now we're looking to play out the Channel Mount Heroics, when we do have them. Other than that, it's our Lightning Briar game plan. Then we do play out Channel Mount Heroic, and then we have, Scarf for 7, Snatch for 7, all these other kind of crazy things. There's also Bramble Spark in this deck as well. So fuse the Bramble Spark, we get the Arcane damage, get the embodiment of Earth token, and also get the +3. So this deck, it looks crazy, right? And I would think, at first glance, it'd be like, can this really work, right? Because it's the best of both worlds. But it won 3 nationals, so I think this deck is going to be legit. I pulled the deck up. This is, I don't remember this player's name. I think it's Christian Hawks. I don't know if I'm saying the last name right. From, I think, the German nationals. I've tweaked the list by like 1 card just because I think that the 3 CNCs didn't make too much sense. But I pulled out the cards to the sideboard to maybe give you guys an image of what the deck actually looks like. So let's go through it, right? We've got almost our standard Lightning Briar list. We've got our Arcanic Shockwaves. A little bit less lightning cards, so maybe not fusing it as much, but we're only playing a 2 of. We've got our Ball Lightnings. 6 Ball Lightnings, obviously that's going to be fantastic off of the Channel Mount Heroic. E-Strike we're used to. Entwine Lightning, less targets to kind of fuse it, but that's probably okay, right? If you do fuse it, fantastic. If you don't, you get the embodiment of Lightning. You're getting the go again anyway. We've got the Lightning Press. I like that as well, because this, we've got Plunder Runs in this deck, and Lightning Press can just be amazing on Plunder Run. Got the Lightning Surge, another lightning card to help support our Arcanic Shockwave and both our Entwined Lightnings, as well as just be a fantastic card out of Arsenal. Scar for Scar, as you know, and then Ravis, Rabble, Snatch. Everything from Lightning Briar that we are totally used to, but looks like we've cut a few Plunder Runs, right? So this deck is only playing 5 Plunder Runs, 3 red Plunder Runs, and 2 yellow Plunder Runs. I think when I think about the Lightning Briar deck, I actually think of it as kind of a Plunder Run deck. It really hinges on the 9 of that card. So it's interesting to see a deck that's cut a few Plunder Runs to try to add in another power card in the form of Channel Mount Heroic. Channel Mount Heroic is not just a card you can slot in any deck, right? It needs a lot of support. You need the blues that you can pitch for it to keep it around. I assume this deck doesn't really ever try to keep it around for more than 1 turn. It'll get plenty enough value off, the turn that it's played, and then pitching the Earth card in the turn after, but never getting that like kind of 2 flow counters and the extended value out of it. So we have opted to cut a few Plunder Runs there. Then let's get into it, right? So we got the Channel Mount Heroic, and then we got 3, 6, 9, 12, and then ultimately 13 Earth cards, which to pitch this with. 12 of them being blues. We got the Tome of Harvest, Weave Earth, Earthler Surge, Autumn's Touch. So that's really the question, is how consistently can you do this? But then again, how bad is Channel Mount Heroic if you can't? Not so bad, right? It blocks for, it inherently blocks for 3. When you have embodiment, it's going to be blocking for 4 or 5 or even more. So not so bad when you don't have it. We've also got Force of Nature. Force of Nature is a card that I experimented with in Lightning Briar for quite a bit, mostly because of the blocking value, but also, Force of Nature with a Plunder Run, does have the double draw effect. It is triggered. You don't have to fuse it. But in this deck, you can obviously fuse the Force of Nature, potentially, right? So your best turns, what are they going to look like? Play Force of Nature, fuse, then play Mount Heroic, pitching the fused card, right? Because that means every attack that you put on that combat chain is going to draw an additional card, right? The +1 for Force of Nature is kind of whatever, but Force of Nature plus combo is kind of the two card combo of, Earth Briar, right? That's really what you're shooting for. So we've got the 2 Sting of Sorceries. It's interesting that we've opted to cut down from 1. Sting of Sorcery, obviously a very powerful card, important in the end game, and also important in the mirror because it allows you to stack the embodiments. And then finally, go gain and tome here. So let's talk about, before we head into the sideboard, so what if this deck list works? So like if you can be consistent with this, what does it help you do? Well, it's a lot better versus Lexi, that's for sure. You've got a way better blue count. It's a lot better versus Oldhim. So if you're struggling versus Oldhim Fatigue or Fatigue anything, Fatigue should be kind of a joke if you've got Channel Mount Heroic in your deck. Like Channel Mount Heroic just kind of breaks the math of the game. Getting +9, +12, aggregate off of a Channel Mount Heroic is just ridiculous, right? That's going to break a lot of these kind of block value points that Oldhim's going to be able to give you on a turn cycle, and you're going to be able to pump through a lot more damage. So really like that. So a lot of your what would be considered harder matchups, so Oldhim, Viserai, Lexi, those are going to be a lot easier if you can pull off these Channel Mount Heroics. Because historically, well, not really historically, but a couple weeks ago, if you were playing Earth Briar versus Lightning Briar, all the matchups that are really hard for Lightning Briar are quite easy for Earth Briar because of Channel Mount Heroic. Channel Mount Heroic is just so strong against Fatigue strategy, so strong against people trying to block, with just a 4-card hand against you. It's just way too much value. All right, let's head into the sideboard. So they do have 3 pieces of armor, which are pretty interesting, right? We've got these Aether Ironweave, the Shock Charmers, Bloodshieath Scalata. They could be playing Scalata in the mirror. You saw a lot of, the Calling Orlando, a lot of people played in the mirror just for the extra block value to kind of try to, block opponents' plunder runs and embodiment of Earth triggers. But ultimately, I see these 3 pieces of armor, and I think, they could be using them just kind of to fill the 80 slots. Particularly, Bloodshieath Scalata is the one that the most, which I think is the least playable, of course. But obviously, it could be there for the blocking. Aether Ironweave can be fine. The use case is a little bit harder, but I guess if you're on a higher curve here at Channel Mount Heroic, it could make sense, but I don't see it. Shock Charmers, if you do have a bunch of blues, maybe, but it's pretty tough, right? Because we usually use the Grasp of the Arcanine for the blocking value anyway, so it'd be in some sort of niche matchup where, you're trying to utilize those kind of blues you have in your deck that are going to be weighing you down when they're not playing Channel Mount Heroic, and then, getting the extra trigger off of the Shock Charmers there. So, heading into the rest of it here, we got Sigil of Suffering. I'm almost sure they're playing this in the mirror. Obviously, they probably added in against Bravo as well. It's just kind of a dangerous card to add against Bravo because it could be Fatigue Bravo, which it's a terrible card. But Sigil of Suffering is kind of a mirror tech. There's a lot of different schools of thought when we talk about Briar mirrors. There's the people that add the Sigil of Sufferings, people that add Flash Freezes, and then people that add more Ravenous Rabble. So we got the 6 Ravenous Rabble package, or even adding cards like Force of Nature and Pulse of the Candlehold to just try to block very efficiently. So in my opinion, they're probably adding these sigils for the mirror. Time Stab, most likely for Prism. Prism is already a very easy matchup for this deck. I think you could also maybe bring the Time Stabs in against Oldhim, but I'm not too sure about it. I think at Oldhim, I'm pretty keen on you play a very lean 60 cards, and then you leak damage of the game and set up Sting, triple ball as fast as you can, which is going to be 16 arcane damage and 9 physical damage. You're playing the red balls, and then obviously if you have the Tunic resource, you can swing the blade, 2 arcane and 2. You're bumping it up by 4 more damage. So most people can't block that out, and you're going to be whittling it down below that by that time to where it's going to be lethal. Next, we have Exude Confidence. Exude's a great card, just because there's a lot of D-React-based decks in the format right now. Especially off of Channel Mount Heroic, right? You play Channel Mount Heroic into an Exude Confidence for 7, and your opponent can't block at all because they got a handful of D-Reacts and they're trying to fatigue you. It's pretty good. They do have the double Coats of Commotion. This is sort of the meme card of the format, but it is good to play against Oldhim and Bravo. It's just the Quicken token is an asymmetrical effect, and you benefit from it vastly as the Briar player, where the Bravo and the Oldhim player almost universally can't utilize it at all. So, good card. We've got 2 Command and Conquerors. I think the list originally had 3 Command and Conquerors. That could be for Prism, and also things for Bolton and Lexi. Bolton likes to see Command and Conquer the least out of anybody. Obviously, we can be breaking Spectras with it. Not Spectra, but Phantasms with it as well if it's not the Triumph. So, I'm assuming that's what Command and Conquer is in there for. And then finally, the Blue Ball Lightning. There's one in the main deck here with the extra blue. I think that, if you are worried about fatigue, playing more Ball Lightnings can be very helpful, right? In case you have to burn them when you don't want to, you can end up, you have more insurance to set up the Sting, ball. With 2 Sting of Sorceries, it does look like that's going to be a pretty tight scenario most of the time, setting up that end game. But let's be real. If you're playing Channel Mount Heroic and you're getting +9 out of it, or +12, or maybe up to +20 if you have it around for long enough, fatigue's going to be no problem, right? Channel Mount Heroic is very, very anti-fatigue. But yeah, awesome list. I recommend you guys check it out. I got to play it a little bit. The mirror seems like maybe the mirror is still a little bit Lightning favored, but other than that, if you think about all the hard matchups that Lightning Briar has right now, which is the Viserai list that Matt took to the Calling, we have Oldhim. Fatigue is it's okay, right? But like more like the Oldhim kind of like fatigue and tempo, like value blocking you and then also attacking you is pretty hard. And then Lexi, this deck does really help shore up a lot of those, kind of where we were lacking. So awesome deck. We finally seen the hybrid list. Soon enough, we're going to see, the Blossoming Spellblade combos or whatever. But awesome deck. One, got to remind you, run 3 nationals in Europe. So it's totally legit. Definitely works. Try it out, and it could be the future of the format. Well, until next time, I'll see you in the next video.